Hello everyone, David here, and I just finished a sketchbook, and this is like a really big deal because it seems like I accumulate a lot of sketchbooks, but I don't have one sketchbook and fill it up and get another sketchbook. I usually get several sketchbooks because they come in different sizes. I've got like another one right here that's a different size. I got another one here that's a different size, different kind of paper, and so there's just a lot to choose from as far as sketchbooks goes, and just a lot to, I guess, to distract me along the way. So anyway, I've had this sketchbook since 2015, so October 2015, and I just finished it up 5 years later yesterday. So a lot of my sketches are rough sketches, and by the way, this is a Strathmore sketchbook, so this is watercolor paper. There's like 24, 25 sheets of paper, and I think it's actually a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good size sketchbook for watercolor. And anyway, so this right here, I'm trying to think, this is like a plant that we got from Trader Joe's. I thought looked kind of cool. And I'm noticing here that I've got two dates. This is the time that I drew it with ink. So I think it was like a pen nib and ink, could have been. Actually, it could have been like a Sharpie pen. I'm not sure. And then anyway, there's a later date. So that's 2015, and this is a later date of 2016. So I went in almost a year later and decided to paint my drawing as well, to add some more to it. And I like the result. A little bit heavy, but I kind of like the result. Back when you could go to Starbucks and just sit, this is inside one of the Starbucks cafes, and I think what happened here is I drew about this much of the figure, and then she moved, and I was kind of left to fill up space with, you know, just the best I could. So anyway, same kind of deal here. I think I had like maybe less than a minute to draw these figures, and they moved, and so sometimes the results are good, sometimes the results maybe look a little bit awkward. Guy reading the paper. This is one of my favorite things to do when sketching, is just to take my book somewhere where there's people, and I kind of secretively take out my sketchbook and start drawing my surroundings and the people in it, and it's just kind of a fun thing to do. This is a tree in my backyard that I think it's no longer there. I think this is where our tomatoes and zucchini plants are right now, and I like this one a lot. I think I could actually take this out and frame it. By the way, that's the reason why I usually draw on just one side of the page, is because sometimes you never know when you might have a drawing that you really like that you need to have framed. But if you're to draw on both sides of the picture, then that makes it kind of awkward. So almost always I draw on one side of the sheet. This one to me cracks me up. This color here is not watercolor, it's colored ink that I've had forever, for like almost 30 years. It hasn't dried up or anything, but this was inspired by when the news came out at the time regarding bacon and processed meats and lunch meats and stuff like that, how they're really carcinogenic, and so I decided to draw a pig, you know, smoking a cigar and having a cold one. Those are the two carcinogenic things I could think to relate to him. Anyway, he looks pretty happy though. Sketch of Will Terry. Kind of an awkward looking sketch. Let the Right One In, that's inspired from that movie. This is another one. I started it almost a year before I colored it. And what I did was I drew with ink washes. You can see some of the indie ink washes in here, and they're also in the background too, and with pen and ink. And then a year later I decided to paint and put color into it, and I like the result. This one I like a lot. I think I could also frame this too. When in doubt, draw an old guy face. That's what I do. If I just don't have any ideas on what to draw, that's what I often do. For some reason, I don't know why. I always have. Another one, same thing, just working with different ink. This is some red ink, and on top of the red ink, I just threw down some black ink. Charlie Brown. This is kind of weird. It kind of goes beyond cartoon. Not quite realistic, but just kind of weird. I don't know. Just some weird ideas down here. The thing I like about the sketchbook is that, you know, and this is what artists mean when they say there's no mistakes in art, and especially with art education and just learning and in the process of drawing, is that when you're in your sketchbook, and this is what sketchbooks really should be for, is that they're not a place to create a masterpiece every time you touch the paper, you know, pen to paper or whatever. They're a place to experiment and to learn some things and to exercise your skills, technical skills and conceptual skills. And so they don't have to be perfect. And I might, a lot of times I'll sketch something and think, wow, that's a kind of a good idea. So I'll take that idea to another piece of paper, and then I'll spend a little more time refining the idea and making it into an actual work of art or masterpiece. And so, but this is just all getting ideas down on paper and practicing the art of drawing and painting and being creative. It's very important to exercise creativity. Painting right here. I think this is where I started, maybe this one right here. Somewhere around here I started to think, well, I want to really start painting more in here. And so that's where I went back and painted some of these other pictures. But yeah, lots of experimentation happens in my sketchbooks. Right here I'm really pushing the colors, using very minimal pen line. This one too, I like that one quite a bit. Kind of pushing the colors a little bit and doing some minimal line work with the pen just to bring out the forms. I like that one a lot. I think this one was done with an old watercolor palette that I have. I've got several of them just sitting around in the studio, and and sometimes I get tired of working with the same palette, so I'll buy a new one and put new colors in it. And so these are like really old colors, though. Like, I don't think I even have the tubes of paint anymore, but those colors are sitting in the palette. So anyway, I kind of like the results of that. A little more recent. This is 2020, so jumping from 2016 to 2020. And Sigourney and Wonder Woman and Marvel, Captain Marvel, can't remember their names. Anyway, I don't talk too much politics. I mostly draw politics, and that's kind of how I prefer it to be, since drawing is my language, so to say. I think I did really well on their faces. Sigourney is a little bit tough. I think I'm used to seeing her as young Sigourney Weaver, and so the older version is a little bit hard to do for some reason. I don't know. Again, I draw politics. I don't always talk about them unless you push me into talking about it. You might regret it if you do. I have to say Trump is a lot of fun to draw, though, just because he has said and done and suggested a lot of outrageous things. This one I like. I drew this out with a ballpoint pen. And I used to draw with a ballpoint pen quite a bit when I was younger. Just because that's what was laying around. And I just recently had the idea of kind of working it into some of my work, and I really like it. It's a fairly intuitive medium. It's almost like drawing with pencil too, in that you can draw really lightly, like construction lines, and then go back into it with darker lines, and you can paint over it. And it's like a cross between a pen and a pencil, and so that's what I like about it. And then this is the last picture, and I like how it works with watercolor too. It looks really good with watercolor. So I'm not going to give up my pen nib and India ink, but it's just kind of a nice alternative to using the India ink. And it's very convenient and not as messy. So that's it. That's about, I think that's 24 pages, 24 pages of work. And I think I have another one of these sketchbooks laying around, but I've got several other kinds of sketchbooks laying around that I need to work on. But anyway, I just thought this might be interesting. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk at you later.